Welcome to the Yes You May podcast with me, your host, Amanda Mae Gray, where we talk all things confidence and making sure you can find the permission within yourself to live the best life with no regrets that you love. This is unfiltered confidence where we have conversations with real people who you can relate to and not just people who are more famous than the rest of us and we can't relate to them. So, today I have an absolutely fascinating person with us. Her name is Kristin Bock. She is a communications expert, body certified body language expert, which I would like to think I know a lot about body language, but I am not certified. And I think she is absolutely going to bring us a fantastic conversation that you're going to love and going to learn so much. And I have a funny feeling I am going to learn a whole bunch too. So, Miss Kristin,
Hello.
welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. Yes, you may. How are you today?
I am good. And you are right when you say that you're going to learn something, but it's our brain already knows it.
Really?
It's like people will say, The stuff you talk about is common sense, but it's not." Like
Yeah,
I just sort of like name it. So I bet you know a lot about body language already, but
perfect.
perhaps I will shine a new light on it.
I mean, I'm here for it. I'm always interested in learning. It's something that I've always been interested in learning more about. I
Hmm.
actually did look into it one time to be like, well, how do I even get certified on this?
Hmm.
And I didn't get very far, or there was too many options, and then nothing
Hmm.
happened because, yeah, life.
Yeah. Right.
But
Right. Here we are.
welcome.
Yes.
And instead, I'll just interview people about it. It's fine. It's fine. So tell me how you got into this, what you do. Yeah, just give us a little backstory on Kristin.
Okay. Well, so here's sort of my what are they positioning statement
Sure, sure.
elevator pitch. So I work with professionals who want to become social Legos. So people that can click with others, right?
Ooh,
By using body language and nonverbal cues to build trust and boost charisma. So it's the idea of sort of fitting in, which goes to my backstory because I didn't.
good.
I didn't understand the rules of communication. I wasn't horrible, but I was just sort of that awkward, insecure person
Sure.
who was very shy. And um, as I'm looking at myself now, but I'd wear all black and just sort of lurk in the corners and didn't think I thought I was invisible by doing that. And
Oh,
nope, I probably was just more like Tuesday Adams creepy. um,
okay. That's okay.
yeah. So it was sort of a self-help tool, but
Mhm.
I do have a distinct memory that I like to share. Sixth grade is when I met one of my dear friends to this day. Her name is Megan. And Megan and I became friends. We both entered a school newspaper logo contest,
Ooh,
and our designs were practically identical. So obviously that meant we had to be friends.
yeah.
Callan,
At 6th
recognize
grade,
the Callan.
absolutely, yeah.
So what I realized is in becoming friends with her is I was her friend, but she was everyone's friend. And it
Mm.
was a different kind of friendship where, I mean, certainly wherever we went, "Megan, sit by me, be on my team," and what put it over the edge is my parents adored Megan. So my sixth grade brain was like, yeah, this is not like popularity. This is different. And it really was, I remember the moment like in sixth grade thinking like, this is more magnetic, and you didn't just notice Megan, you felt her. And
Mm,
to this day, she's fantastic and fabulous and has the best stories and is a doctor and travels and does all the things, of course, right?
of course.
But I remember like click, like she's doing something. So I had kind of a front row seat studying what is Megan doing and then just sort of figuring it out. Um, yeah, that's how it started. And then I'll just add, then I graduated college with psychology.
Mm,
And I took a job working with adults with disabilities, and many were nonverbal. So that led to sort of the body language part of it because I got really good at observing behaviors
yes.
and spotting. It really is helpful if you can spot when someone's getting upset
Mm,
because then you can diffuse it before it's a problem. So I just started to kind of hone these skills unknowingly. And then when I was asked to be the trainer for the company, that's when I was like, "Oh, snap. I don't know how to stand in front of a group. I don't know how to." So that's truly what, like, kind of put me over the edge of, "I gotta figure this out and fast."
Wow, interesting. Very interesting. How long into your career did that happen? Like, how far or
Mm.
what age were you range
Oh
that you were
gosh.
like, "Dang, now I really gotta take it
Yeah.
seriously."
I wanna say, so I ended up working for the company for 26 years.
Dang,
So it was
wow.
it's a nonprofit, that's kind of my identity.
Mhm.
And I wanna say, so I maybe was late 20s, early 30s when they asked me to be the trainer, and so it was a shift from doing, like, frontline work, I was managing and stuff, but to teaching,
Mhm.
at which I felt called to do, like, I really like that. Um, but yeah, that's when I was like, I have things I wanna share, and it's not gonna work if I'm standing in front of a group looking like a sad sack or nervous, right? Like, there is an art, and that's, so I did start studying, and like you said, I had to research pretty far, to kind of figure out that right program. There's a lot of
Yeah.
kind of charlatany, it's more of a mindset and just observing. But I really, I started using the tools when I was a trainer, and then I ended up leaving that job, and then ultimately went on to become a speaker. Ooh,
Ta-da!
ta-da!
Which is still potentially training, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Especially the way depending on how you do it, and
Yep.
there's a lot of workshop work right there. So that's
Yeah.
really, really fascinating,
Yeah.
and also not surprising that you got into speaking post, because I feel like a lot of people end
Mhm,
up with some sort of job that's like, "Hey, can you do this?" And you're like,
mhm,
yes."
mhm.
And then figure it out. Than people like me who are like, "I'm just gonna get on a stage."
Yeah, yeah, you're a unicorn.
I know. Yeah,
For me, it was connecting a lot of dots, and, yeah, just figuring out, and I really feel like I found my home in the speaking world. Like,
that's
there's a lot
awesome.
of people like me with a lot of ideas, a lot of tangents, all those kinds of things, but you can find a way to channel it and do good. But yeah, that wasn't on my bingo card really. Like, I wasn't like, I wanna if I would have known in middle school, like, you're gonna speak on stages, I would have cried.
6th grade you was like, "What are you doing? No!"
Stop it. Yep. Nope, but, here I am learning the skills, which is, to anyone watching, this is hope, because I didn't know how to do it, and I learned how.
See, to me, it's fascinating because I didn't know you could learn to
Mhm.
become charismatic and you could learn to be I knew you could get better on stage because you can learn that, and I
Yeah,
obviously wasn't fabulous right away either. It's a lot of practice, it's a lot of, just doing it, getting your reps in, and then
mhm,
getting qualified training from
mhm.
people who know more and have really studied it as well, but I
Yeah,
didn't know you could really
yeah,
change and become more charismatic by choice. I always
yeah,
thought of charismatic as something that you just were or you weren't.
mhm,
So tell me a
yeah.
little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, so for
Oh,
me,
that's
my
a question.
confidence has come bit by bit. I mean, I
Yeah,
think it's just sort of this, you learn this, and you keep piling it on. And that's when you start feeling more confident, because you start to feel more confident.
right.
So I've definitely watched that. Even my mother-in-law said a couple of years ago, "I've really watched you grow." And
Oh,
right? So it's just this progression. But okay, so let's go back to this idea of charisma.
yes, I love charisma.
Yes. Okay. So we all do. So I want you, Amanda, to think
Okay,
of
I'm
someone that you think is very charismatic. So
mhm.
who is that? So I do a workshop and I say, all right, this could be your neighbor, it could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be someone in the news. Like, who is that person that immediately comes to mind when you think of charisma?
I feel like somebody that everybody knows would be
Mhm.
Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
I feel like he must be or at least he portrays it really well in movies. Like Deadpool he was
Yes.
very charismatic in that, for sure.
Okay. And he wrote that, right? Didn't he
I
write
think he
Deadpool
did.
or
I don't
did
know.
something?
He's
Okay.
heavily involved in a whole lot of things
Mhm.
though, so that's another story.
And he's easy on the eyes. So there's that too. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not
So,
going to
yeah, I've
disagree.
actually I have a newsletter called The Calm Charismatic, but I highlight celebs
Mhm.
or people in the news, people I observe, and he's one. So, yay, points for you. Okay, what is it about him? So, if we list skills and qualities, what's making you say Ryan Reynolds?
He has a certain charm about him. He's very confident in himself, but I like to call it like a relaxed confidence. Like it's not
Mhm.
out there and forced or showy. There's just this calm quality and understanding of who he is as a person that he's willing to show like he's made a mistake or like the funny side of him.
Yes.
Um yeah, those are some of the things. What am I missing?
Okay,
I feel like I'm
so
missing things though.
no, well, right, that we could go on and on.
No.
But okay, so I said what skills and
Yes.
qualities. And when you say charisma, and I use the term charisma in the sense of who's got that attracting personality that you kind of want to follow or you're drawn to,
Mhm.
magnetic. So charisma is kind of a loaded word. People think like charisma, like the bubbly extrovert. Yeah, but it comes in many different flavors. So there's the quiet, strong, silent type.
Mhm.
There's
Mhm.
different forms. All right. So I said, what is it you like about Ryan? And you start saying things like humor,
Yep.
vulnerable. I think doesn't he have some anxiety issues?
He might.
I think he does. Kind like we start listing these qualities, and that's the point I like to make is we have been taught as a society like how you get ahead, how you advance are these really tactical, technical skills. It's the hard
Yes.
skills.
Yes.
This is what we're rewarded for at school. This is why we get certifications. This is why we care about all the things. And yes, those matter. But what is more important are the people skills,
Mm.
is the ability to make someone feel something. So maybe I can dazzle you and you think I'm really smart, but what's more powerful is if I make you think you're really smart.
Oh.
It's how you're connecting, right? So is how are you making someone feel? Because we catch that.
Yes.
So it can be energy, but there's so many different forms of it, and that is what makes someone magnetic. And if we look at the science and you break it down, and
Yes.
actually, yeah, like I have the charisma myth on my bookshelf. I have some things here. What it really boils down to, according to the research and science, is you need to be both warm and competent.
Oh.
So when you have those both, when you're both of those, and balanced, that's when you start to become influential.
Hmm.
So if you're highly warm, which is what I was, like people liked me, but they didn't take me seriously. They're not the one. I wasn't the one they thought, oh, she should lead the team.
Okay.
So you're really likable. People enjoy being around you, but you're not taken seriously. Or if you're really high competent, you have fantastic ideas. You're very smart, but people often don't feel kind of safe around you, and they don't want to be
Mm.
as vulnerable. So once you can balance that, that's when you have influence. So Ryan Reynolds, I would argue, yeah, he's very talented. He's written some great films, but we also feel like we know him a little bit, or
Right.
you can
He's more
have,
relatable.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So for me, it's Oprah
Okay.
because I grew up
Yes.
with Oprah,
Makes sense.
right?
Yes.
So if she invited me to coffee, I would lose my mind. But what? But I would go in knowing she'd be fun. I'd have a great time. We'd have a great conversation, and I'd probably come away with some huge insight, right?
Mm. Yes.
That's competence and warmth, and that's what makes the magnetism. So then it becomes this is how it becomes learnable is if you're higher in competence, you learn the warmth cues and vice
Okay.
versa. And you start layering those on and you do it enough that it starts to become just sort of natural.
Just who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. The
Yeah.
warmth so you said cues. So this is the
Yes.
part that I'm interested in learning a little more here now.
Yeah.
There are warmth cues and there are confident competence cues.
Mhm.
So are we talking the body language itself? Are
Mhm.
we talking
Yeah.
vocals, body language?
Oh, yes, and to all of
Oh,
that.
yes, and
Right.
perfect.
Mhm.
So tell me
Yeah.
more about like what would a cue be, and what are some cues that you had to learn to be more competent, appealing, or
Yes.
seeming?
Mhm.
What would
Mhm.
be the word there?
There's a ton of science. So, I tend to be, I would probably fall under, like, the people pleaser.
Okay.
So, old Kristin, newer version 2.0 is much less so. Also, I'm older.
Always helps. Yep.
There's that.
Yep.
Right. So learning some of the cues of competence, but kind of my takeaway after, so I think I got certified 8 years ago and just sort of studying and really being earnest about it. What one of the bigger things is being very open body language is that's key to connecting with anyone. So I don't know if you can go full
I
screen
was gonna
here.
say, let's get you big.
Yeah. So the person who's and this, okay, you always hear like this is defensive and
Arms
yes,
crossed. So
yes,
if somebody's just listening, she's got her arms
right.
crossed.
Right. So it can be, but it also can be they're cold, this is comfortable, they have a frozen shoulder. Like it doesn't mean they're defensive. But the science does show that when we tend to listen this way, which a lot of people do, you
Mhm.
tend to be a little bit more closed off. So just this idea of being open, it makes you more relatable and approachable. So
Mm.
not blocking with objects, not being behind a desk when you're greeting people, always keeping your arms kind of at your sides or using them when you speak. That those kinds of things, you're cueing the other person. I'm relatable and I'm approachable. I'm not closed off. So a lot
Okay.
of that open body language was really a game changer for me. And I remember just even learning kind of like the dating dynamics, right? That was a hot minute ago for me. But understanding that if you're the most attractive in the room, that doesn't mean you're going to get the most people approaching you
That's true.
because if you are closed off, that is very scary for the other person. So it's the most open and kind of receptive person that's going to get the most people approaching them in business, in life, and just in general.
Okay. So we're talking hands down, hands open versus, keeping your arms and your shoulders tight. I always feel like when somebody asks me, because I've done a lot of modeling, did pageants, so body language is
Mm,
always something I've always, and that
right.
confidence. I always say it's a relaxed confidence, and it's
Mhm.
like you stand up tall and straight, but you lowered your shoulders down. You kind of like relax or sink into it a little bit, so it's still
Yes.
open and proper. The chest is
Hmm.
proud, but it's not like
Yes.
rigid.
Yes.
I think is a good word.
Yes.
It's just like
Yeah.
very, like it's like after you take a deep breath, like you're that,
Mhm.
and then there you are.
Okay, and you've just hit on some science here.
Really?
So the greater the distance from your ear to your shoulder,
Okay.
the more confident you appear. So if I talk like the whole time like this certainly makes me look less confident.
Yeah,
And it starts to affect my voice. Like I start to get a
because
little
it's
more creaky
tight.
and right. So so what you just like kind of stepping and relaxing and pulling your shoulders down is
Yeah.
exactly it.
Oh,
That's a high competent cue.
oh.
If you look confident and you start to sound more confident. So yay, you see, you knew it. You
I
just
mean, I had
didn't.
a hunch. But it was in my
Yeah.
own brain like, "Well, I'm pretty sure this is what it is," but,
So
I
when you
never.
would go on a stage, is that something you're mentally saying like breath in, exhale out?
Mhm. Yeah, I
Okay.
have a whole thing before walking on stage. So I call it the shake and smile, and I teach people this, in one of my keynotes that if you wanna, like, walk in for your first impression, but you're
Mhm.
nervous, you've got a lot of nervous energy in your body, so you literally physically shake your hands out, like,
Okay.
pretty aggressively, bring them all the way
Mhm.
up above your head, and then take a deep breath in, and release those hands.
Mhm.
Don't you
Mhm.
already feel more grounded?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like a shake, and you're supposed to smile on the way down. So,
Oh,
and force yourself to smile, and you'll be more open, happy, relaxed, and then you'll walk right into whatever the situation is, whether that's on
yes.
stage, into a room full of people that you're trying to impress or just meet, say you're
Right.
networking. It just gets that nervous energy out, and I think I get
Mhm.
that from acting maybe,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
that you have that nervous energy before you go on stage or do anything, you
Mhm.
gotta get it out. So it's like a whole, like, just shake the body out, get that energy out, and then
Mhm.
you're not holding on to that tension. And the
Yeah.
mind tell I know this one. I know that the mind doesn't know the difference between nervous and excitement.
Yes. Yes.
So when you're nervous and you can get that energy out and then just tell yourself, I'm excited, it will
Right.
take away that like super fear before you do
Mhm.
anything.
Right. Right.
Right?
And even just naming it, there is science around that.
Okay.
So even saying, "I'm excited," is your brain can't differentiate that. So, and it starts we catch that from other people. That's why
Okay.
we don't like to be around people that are very nervous or uptight.
Mm. Energy.
Mhm.
Energy matters.
It's energy. We catch it. So, paying attention to how you're framing things. So literally, yeah, before I go on a stage too, I'm sort of, so what you were describing with the shaking the hands out and all that
Yeah.
is also very Amy Cuddy, if you've seen her
Yes,
TED
she does like the power
the power
poses, right?
posing, Wonder Woman, Starfish, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, but it's the same concept of just making yourself expansive because you start to feel more confident. It creates this feedback loop, but it ties in with mindset too, that you're saying things like, I'm excited. I'm here to serve them. I'm here to help this audience. That does affect your confidence levels. So yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
that's
not
a
really tricky.
fascinating background that you have there.
Pardon?
That's a fascinating background
My
that
bad.
you come from with the pageants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different. Different.
Mhm. Mhm.
Miss what would I Miss Alachua County, USA, Miss Florida Earth Fire, no USA, just Miss Florida Earth Fire. I was Miss Sunburst New England. Like I did a whole bunch of them. So I got into modeling at 15 when I went to the
Ooh.
prom for the first time. I was always like the tall
Mhm.
kid, tall,
Mhm.
skinny kid. Wasn't always the best at making friends because I was
Mm.
different. And then I moved from Massachusetts to Maine. And when I did that, and that was in 7th grade, so 2000. And when I did that, I got made fun of a lot because I had an accent
Mm.
and not much of a filter in terms of like, and I still don't have the best filter, and I live in the South. And so sometimes I just say things and it's just blunt and to the
Mhm.
point.
Mhm.
People don't love that always,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I just say what everybody else is thinking and it comes out of my mouth before I realize it shouldn't.
Right.
And so I
Right.
got made fun of a lot in Maine and didn't
Mhm.
make a lot of friends there. And then when I did go to prom and somebody, the photographer was like, "Whoa, you're really photogenic." I was like, "Oh my gosh, somebody actually likes me," because I was, a kid that
Oh,
didn't have a lot of friends. And then I dove into that because it was something that felt more accepting. And then pageants led to modeling, led to spokesmodeling, led to, now
a lot of
I'm
opportunities.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, all sorts of different things. Um,
Yeah.
which and in pageants, posture is everything.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
way you stand on the stage and walk in the gowns and the swimwear, doing the interview questions, like your posture, the way you look, the way you present yourself, that's what wins the pageant is the way you present yourself. It's less about the innate physical beauty and more about how you portray yourself to
Right.
the world.
Okay, so out of curiosity, tell me about the vocal power of it because they did interview parts
Oh, yes.
too?
Yes,
Okay,
they do
talk to
interview
me.
parts. So, it's interesting because as a woman in this was like the 2000s, and then into the 2010s a little bit, so it was still you weren't super assertive,
Mhm.
right? That
Mhm.
that wasn't the time yet.
Yep.
But there was definitely, like, keeping your register low and calm, not going too high pitched, but still being intriguing and not being monotone. I think the monotone is probably the biggest thing that I got out of acting and,
Yes.
all of this was be interesting with your vocals, to follow
Mhm.
the story and have pauses when appropriate for people to take in what you've just said or have good emphasis depending on what you said. So it's
Right.
always registering in the deeper part of your voice, but not forcing it. Because you definitely
Yes.
never want to go high. If you go too high, especially as a woman, you'll sound airhead, right? Like that's the
Right.
stereotypical is if your voice is super high, you must not be very
Mhm. Right.
intelligent.
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
Just BS, but what we
Right.
think.
Well, okay, so,
Yeah.
I've already lost all the thoughts that came to my mind, but I wanted to just say with the vocal like you were saying, the lower register, yes,
Mhm.
that is really important because our ear tends to pay a little bit more attention to lower registers.
Yeah.
So the analogy, of course, you want to play many keys on the piano
Yeah.
because when you play that one key over and over, that's why it's really hard.
People just, yeah, you tune out. It's boring.
Yeah. And I have to say, so again, working in the field with adults with disabilities, some were nonverbal, some people had touch talkers, so this automated voice.
Right.
And if you had long conversations with someone, it was really hard to stay focused through
Interesting.
no fault of their own, but it was just this robotic voice.
Yeah.
Even when I hear it on Instagram, I'm like, ugh,
Yeah. I
you
know.
know, stop it.
I'm the
But
same. I'm like, ah, don't do that.
yeah. So, but one thing you can do when you said lowest register, like if you feel yourself going up, you can take a breath in and then speak on the out breath. It relaxes your vocal cords.
Oh,
So that's something I'm not great at doing it, but I do try and catch myself if I'm feeling myself getting upset. Just so if okay, so take a
yeah.
breath in and say hello, like in a high register. Should be you're like hello, like
Hello.
okay, let's pretend we're answering. Yeah, so hello.
Hello.
Okay, now take a breath in and answer on the out breath. So I'll demo. Hello.
Oh,
It's a little bit lower. So it does relax. So it's a good reminder. If you use a phone, practice that. Like when you answer it, hello, you're right.
it's more grounding.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
it feels like your level versus a lot. If you go up, it sounds more like a question. And the
Yes,
question would imply insecurity versus
right.
the lower applies like, not status, but like, what's the word I'm going for?
Well, just more authority or
Authority.
confidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
you're confident in who you are. Hello. Yeah,
So
fascinating.
in the body language world, what the
Yes.
question inflection, upspeak, is it
Yes.
really just minimizes your authority. So if I'm like, I'm happy to be here. My name is Kristen. Our brain is like, are you?
Mhm.
Like it's just kind of questioning, and that's huge in any kind of negotiation. Or, I charge $5,000.
Right.
Oh, how about two? So just understanding, yeah, that can be credibility breaking or really kind of
Yeah.
undermine your presence. Hmm.
Wow, that is interesting. I think our
Hmm.
friend, Rebecca Murray talks about this some too, doesn't she, with
Oh,
her career?
yes,
Yes.
yes,
She
absolutely.
we
Yeah,
should
I'd be interested to hear her take on things. Because it can vocal fry, should ask her about that. Just when you take up less space or you're more crunched up, that's when our vocal cords. That's like Kardashian stuff.
we don't want that. Ain't nobody want that. So give us some more cues as to how can somebody, that doesn't feel like they're charismatic, doesn't feel like they're magnetic, where do they start? What can they do to really identify which end they're on the
Yes.
spectrum there, and what they need to do to start becoming more of that person, or at least attempting, um, to help establish themselves?
So sort of identify, and I have like a 10 question thing that I do with groups. Are you seen as an expert or as a team player, that kind of stuff. So sort of identify. I like to think of it as the spectrum, like we're born more passive or aggressive, and then we learn assertive. Same thing. So just what is your default? Typically, people that are higher in warmth in any kind of stressful situation. So this can be an interview,
Mm,
in dating and pitching, networking, whatever it is for you.
okay.
They tend to be hyper aware of the other person. So they're smiling more, they're nodding more, they're making sure like this is going well. That's a high warmth cue. High competence is more knowledge. So this is I listened to a really cool podcast. Let me tell you what I learned.
Mm,
There's a really interesting, so they're giving more facts, data. They're keeping the conversation going with facts. You're kind of keeping it going with, or the warm people are kind of keeping it going with being really in tune.
okay.
So identify what that is, and then start thinking about how you can add in cues that balance it out. And I
Interesting.
forgot your question. Like what?
I hope that answered it. It did, because I think, you know, I think people know when that isn't their strong suit being charismatic, and obviously not everybody is.
Mhm,
And some people are more natural to that than others.
mhm.
Well, it's hard to know which way you need to go. So I think that really did help clarify, like, you're either this side of things and you need to work on the warmth, or you're that
Mhm.
side of things and you need to work on being
Yeah.
that go-to, that knowledge base. And
And
it
it can
sounds like
be who you surround yourself with. Like, this can be
really?
partnerships. Yeah. So, even think in relationships.
Okay.
Like, my husband's my opposite, but this can be business pairings where you have someone who's really good with the public and someone who's more behind the scenes.
Mm,
Like, this is you're so self-aware, you know who you need on your team. Understanding that the key is you have to respect the other person's skill set. Where
yeah.
I've worked with
Yeah.
groups and they're like both, one's warm, one's competent, but they don't necessarily respect the other skills, and then that's a problem. So you
Okay.
have to, yeah, but that this is fantastic business pairings. And
Okay.
my classic example is Ernie and Bert.
I love Ernie and Bert.
Yeah, right, right.
Who
Yeah,
doesn't? I mean, come on.
yeah. Ernie's warm,
Yeah.
Bert's competent. Yeah. So Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, Gail and Oprah, just whatever. Start looking at those pairings in your office, in your life, and you can start to see where that sort of makes a really powerful couple duo business. Mhm. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. What about with body language and confidence? We
Yep.
kinda touched on it a little bit, but as a body language expert, I feel like you must have more insight, knowledge, tips. Like,
Mhm,
how do we portray, confidence to ourselves to build ourselves up?
mhm,
Because I really think that confidence is a muscle. I don't think
mhm,
it's just something that you have always. I always tell people it's not always there, and it's not on everything, and if you think about your life, like, you're always more confident in some things than others, and it's almost
mhm,
always the things you've done and practiced
mhm.
and got better at and taken the time to actually, like, invest thought and energy into, and
Right.
it's something that you can build in other areas if you choose. So
Mhm.
talk to me about body language and confidence specifically.
Yeah. Okay. So let's first do more the warm, where this was me.
Mhm.
Yeah, needed to be taken more seriously. So happily, like things like glasses, like that does help. Um,
Really?
yeah. So if you look at profile pictures, women who wear makeup and
Uh,
glasses, that's rated much stronger. Uh, it's the science. But you start looking at profile pictures. There's specific things we can do. So professionals, I can wear glasses and makeup, and I can keep it a little bit warm by adding like a little head tilt.
mm,
My hands in the frame. Like, there's a couple things you can do. Our brains love hands. I'll tell you why in a second.
okay.
But just understanding how you're showing up. So it's just for me, it has been incredibly helpful just to understand the science behind it, why it works, and then just gradually layering each kind of brick in at a time until I felt more confident.
Mm.
So, okay, let's talk about hands. All
Let's
right.
talk about hands.
Let's talk about hands. So when I ask people what's the first thing your brain really picks up on when you first see someone, well, I'll ask you so we first pop on the screen here. What is your brain tracking? What is it paying attention to?
I would say the eyes,
Okay, so
probably.
eyes, smile,
Smiles, yeah. Yeah,
okay,
and then, I
teeth,
mean,
hair,
eyebrows.
clothes, all the stuff.
Yeah.
What your brain, at least when we're initially meeting someone, it's very aware of hands.
Interesting.
Yes, because hands can do harm. This is like wonderful, right?
Good
So
saying.
there's no mistake why police officers say, "Put your hands up." It's show your intent. So our brain is like a software program running in the
Mhm.
background,
Mhm, mhm.
is constantly scanning. So I don't okay, can you make me go full
I
screen
can make it
touch?
big. Let's go big on you. Boom.
So if I talked the whole time and you didn't see my hands or I had my hands behind my back,
Yes.
that starts first of all, it starts to change my voice a little bit. I have a
Oh,
little less energy, right?
yes.
And if I did the whole talk like this, you would be like, "Why? What's happening?
Why?
Why is she doing why are her hands behind her back? Why?" And it can kind of relax when your hands come out again. So your hands become this you're showing literally I'm a friend. This goes
Okay.
back to like cave people days. Is this person coming up over the horizon a friend or a foe? You're on first base.
Oh.
So our brain is very in tune with hands, and leaders are very effective typically with using very specific kind of fluid hand gestures. They're not the
Mhm.
person doing this.
Right.
They're saying things like, there's three things I want to cover.
Mhm.
We're going to do this in steps, and our numbers are going to soar. It's very, they're talking to you on two levels.
Right. Yeah.
So you're hearing it and you're seeing it. And when we do that, that makes it's like underlining and bolding. That makes you a much better communicator.
Interesting. So for those who are just listening, she put the 3 fingers up and then used her hand to, like, step up. We're gonna talk about these levels, and then did,
Steps.
like, a fluid, almost
Mm-hmm.
like you would see, like, a graph
Mm-hmm.
increase with her hand, whoop,
Mm-hmm.
like, from chin up to eyes. Very
So for
interesting.
the audience, I want you to think about something. What's something you say on repeat
Okay.
that you can be very specific with hand gestures to help kind of amplify it, because it increases your kind of messaging by 60% ish,
Really?
just by using hand gestures, and up to 400%. And for some, I'm like, some hand gestures up to 400%. Are those like the swear words? But it just,
Maybe.
right, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, so if you're someone saying, oh, the restroom is down the hallway and to the right, like, what are things that you say a lot that you can make much more sticky by using hand gestures?
Hmm.
That's a way to be a really solid communicator, especially when you're intentional with it. So, fun fact: I was certified by the Science of People. That's Vanessa Van Edwards. If you've not seen the
The science of people.
Science of People, I've got the books behind me.
Of course, of course.
Cues and Captivate.
Okay.
They were really interested in TED Talks.
Yes, of course.
Given equal topics, what makes one go viral and the other one not?
Ooh,
And
interesting. Yes, let's
right?
talk about that.
So from a body language standpoint, they're looking at smiles, they're looking at all the things. And the one thing that bubbled up is that the TED Talks that went viral had double the hand gesture, typically double. So about 465 hand gestures in an 18-minute TED Talk, as
Wow.
opposed to 200 and I forget what it was, 30 some. So it was that the people came in and they were having a conversation with you and they were using their hands, and it was underlining what they're saying.
Wow.
So
I
it
mean,
really,
it's universal too, right? Like, if you don't know the language, if you ever travel abroad or,
Mhm,
whatever, it doesn't matter. If you don't know the language, you can still have some communication based
mhm,
on universal hand gestures, up, down, left, right, like, there's
mhm.
definitely some
Yeah.
absolutely universal things. And then, tone can make a big impact on that as well.
Mhm.
But and then I just think about, like, the Italian culture gets a rap for, like, using their hands when they're talking so much, and how, like, one gesture can be, 10 different meanings in their world.
Yes.
But it
Yes.
it really does make such a difference, because the visuals is often the first thing I always say the first thing we really notice is visual.
Mhm.
Obviously, unless you're blind,
Yep. Yep.
visuals is one of the first things you'll see with somebody, and if you're looking at somebody on a stage or across the room and not having that one-on-one conversation, you can pick up a lot about who they are, how comfortable they are in the situation, or what their energy is like because of those visual cues. I
Right.
think that's really
Which
fascinating.
is why I would argue, and now I'm my latest fascination is
Oh, yes.
digital charisma.
Yes,
It's
digital
why,
let's talk about digital
yes,
charisma, yes.
yes, it's why emojis are so important, because
They're
it's a visual. It's
fantastic.
giving you the tone.
Mhm.
So if I say fine, period, is that fine? I mean, there's so much, like, put the emoji with it so I know, like, it's cool.
Right. Fine, great, wonderful,
Right?
versus
So
fine.
yes. Yeah. So, and I just want to tuck this in here too, is the reason we use our hands when we speak is it lightens our cognitive load. So it's a gift for us. So if you find yourself explaining, it's because it's helping you explain. It's making, right? It's making it easier for you. That's why you see very young children can I just a little bit longer? I mean, they're using, right? It's helping them explain.
That's
So,
fascinating.
yeah.
I'm very expressive, so I've always like used everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, one last thing, you've hit the lecture mode,
Okay.
but um, our brain defaults to the visual.
Yeah.
So if I say, we have 3 things we need to cover, I'm holding
Mhm.
up 5 fingers, you're like, "What?" Right? You're like, "Mm," but you
It's a
said 3.
disconnect.
Yeah. Or, "We have a lot we need to get through today." Making a very small gesture, right? So that's where it's not in alignment, and then they default to no. That's why when you get a feeling like this person doesn't seem authentic or they're salesy or whatever, there's something verbally and visually that just aren't lining up. And our brain is really good at picking that up.
Wow. Well, so one of my speaking coaches, he's always like, "Well, the confused mind says no." So if you're
Mhm.
doing something in opposition to what you're saying, or the vocal tones are different to what you're
Mhm.
saying, you're going to make people confused, and then they're stopping, they don't believe you or they're not paying attention any longer, and you've killed your credibility when you
Yeah.
do stuff like that. And it could
So
be
example oh, go ahead.
you just might not even realize you're doing it,
Yeah.
but you gotta be cognizant.
And that's the tone. So if I say, I'm happy to be here today, I'm happy to be here today. It is the same words, but a very different vibe,
Wow,
right? That we default then to the nonverbals or what we're picking up on. Mhm.
that's fascinating.
Right? Or can I help you? Can I help you? Customer service
Mhm.
101.
It's like that saying with Maya Angelou, they'll forget what you say, but they'll remember how you make them feel, and I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Nobody come at me in the comments on that one,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
feel free to just say it the exact way.
Mhm,
But it's like
mhm.
that, like, people remember, that genuine, that warmth, how you feel after the conversation more than the specifics. And you know what I learned recently? This is interesting to me. I learned that our memory is only about 50% accurate of any event
Mm,
that's happened to us, especially the further away from said event, you only actually remember about 50% and you fill in the blanks with
okay.
whatever your programming is, whatever you're expecting, whatever you think happened. It's kind of like saying there's two sides to every story because
Yeah,
your brain is filling in what you think and you're assuming things that aren't necessarily true or
right.
weren't meant to be taken that way, right? I thought that
Yeah.
was fascinating. I was like, dang.
Okay, and so I always say, imagine the world like a comic book. We're all walking
Yes.
around with speech bubbles over our heads, yeah, that are broadcasting so much, and you need to control what's in yours.
Hmm.
That's, right, important, and then also be able to tap into what other people's are saying because that's when you make people feel seen and heard.
Hmm.
So when you can do that, now you're a next level communicator. Yeah.
Next level. Tell me more about this digital charisma. First of all, I need
Mm.
to know if you came up with this phrase because it's
I
fantastic.
I don't know.
Yes,
I
I
think
would.
it's out there. I feel like I did, but I think it's out there.
I
Like I
actually
didn't
have
Google it
sayings
or
that I'm like, "Did I come up with that phrase? Was it me?" I don't know. I
yeah,
have
yeah,
can't tell you, but it's
yeah.
a
I don't
great
know if I
phrase.
can trademark it, but yeah, but digital charisma. Okay,
Tell me it.
because
Dive in.
we have I feel like it's untouched territory where it's
Mm.
the more advanced we get with AI, the messaging is great, but it's often it's not real.
Mhm.
And we get better and better at picking up on and kind of sussing that out. So I'm on a mission to really help people be relatable because I feel like that's the that's the secret sauce is if
Mhm.
I know that you really care and see me, I'm much more willing to talk with you than if you're just cold pitching me with some AI stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm researching. I just actually today I put out a post where I'm asking people to try different levels of spiciness with their
Mhm.
emails or
Okay. Tell me
yeah.
more. I like
So
spiciness.
mild, medium, spicy.
Okay.
Okay, so luck I've had is in especially I'm going to use LinkedIn.
Sure.
If someone connects with me, I typically, if I'm responding back, I'll send a GIF,
Mhm.
a GIF, GIF, whatever you want to call it.
A little animated photo.
Yes, And this I discovered
Okay.
in my past job where I was running a training department and I needed, I don't know what it was, let's say 800 people to go on this digital platform.
Mhm.
And so they had to read my emails to sign up, and I needed to get them to do it.
Right.
And I was throwing everything at it that I possibly could. So I was using song lyrics, Simple Minds, Don't Forget About Me, and just all the things. And I was throwing in gifts and all these things. And I had the moment when I had a few people, when they signed up, they said, cool, we're in, but keep us on your email list because we'd like getting your emails. I'm like,
Oh, which is not normal. Nobody, I
right.
mean, hello, we all have too many emails.
Right. So I'm like, chick. Okay. Then I went to a different company and I was the person coming in, the expert, and I had to
Mhm.
get this group of people to trust me.
Fast.
Gave me a list of 10 people and said, you need to reach out to them, meet with them, find out what's going, like, why is this? It was basically, why is turnover so high?
Mhm. Sure, that's a big question.
Right. Well, of course, people are really guarded.
Yeah.
You know, new person coming in, they're like, ah. So I would say, hey, this is Kristen. I'd love to grab lunch with you, blah, blah, blah. And I would get the okay, period, fine, period. And when I would send something lighthearted, my favorite at that time was, that girl who's like amped up on candy, who's like that, what GIF I'm talking about?
Think so.
I would say, great, let's grab coffee and eat candy. I would say something like that. And I
Yeah.
could just see the shift. Like suddenly I was a person and then we could have a back and forth. So I'm still playing with that, but digital charisma is basically showing the person I've been thinking about you. I see you. It's adding some personality in so people can trust because our brains don't really differentiate in person and computer. Like we still care.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of mattering. And I want to help people navigate and be actual humans in the digital world. Mhm.
The actual humans. So it's funny you should talk about that because I feel like that's kind of where I'm landing with things is the problem that I've been solving that I didn't realize was disconnect. Like I help
Mhm.
people with connection. I help people, I make trading videos for retail corporations. I own a video production company, and that is the disconnect of the employees versus whatever the rule or the policy is, and we're connecting those together and clarifying that communication so people understand it. And then I talk about first impressions in a keynote, and that's creating that connection instantly with somebody so we're not
Mhm.
disconnected. And then creating a culture of connection is one of something else that I talk about. And again, that's like, how do we become humans with each other
Mhm.
in a
Mhm.
world that has become shockingly more disconnected
Right.
while simultaneously more connected
Yeah.
because of social media, because of email, like the internet as a whole has made us connected yet disconnected all at the same time. And these in person skills
Mhm.
are fading. And this next generation is having the hardest time ever utilizing these skills and being able to communicate with the other generations because they have always had a smartphone in their pocket and they have always had that. And then COVID hit and they only had through a
Mhm.
screen communication. So physically in person, they just don't have that same uh, knowledge base that we had to have because we didn't have screens beforehand. So I
Right.
think it's a
Right.
really interesting concept to humanize and take what we used to do and bring it more into this digital world that we have found ourselves in, that we all have
Mhm.
to adapt to, and not be so robotic, rigid, too formal. Which, I mean, I hate when I get those. I'm like, ugh, are you a
Right.
bot? What do you want? Are you? I'm
Yeah.
always skeptical of somebody new, and I don't like that.
Mhm.
But that's
Mhm.
the automatic response, and I think that's most people's response. Is like,
Right.
who are you? What do you
Right.
want? No, thank you.
Right. Yes. Well, okay, so the challenge, today, and I have more up my sleeve,
Okay.
uh, is, okay, send an article or thought of you,
Mhm.
something that you're attaching if you're wanting to connect with someone because, you literally are saying, I like you. Like you are in my brain. You're taking up space in my brain. I saw this article, thought you might find it interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So very safe. This is so I love working with young professionals, driven young professionals. That's my sweet spot. But so techie, legal, accounting, people that are very bright, but don't necessarily know how to do the charisma thing,
People
maybe.
stuff.
Okay, so that's a very safe, like just let's dip our toe in and let's send an article or something out. Um, Medium is two facts and something a little more interesting.
Mhm.
So something like I work in tech, I love a good spreadsheet or whatever it is, and then something kind of interesting that the more you can have someone say, me too,
Mhm.
the more you're going to get on. So something about you, and then the spicier, the more scary part is sending like an actual GIF or something. But it's humorous, and I'll get people that will do a thumbs up at minimum, and then or they'll be like, I love Kermit or whatever I've done, and then we have an actual human conversation. And even if it ends there, I'm on their radar
Mhm.
as a person. Like it's not a robot who's just pitching things. Yeah.
Because we're all getting that too much. That's
Yes.
interesting. That's very interesting. It's really
Mhm.
about that, like, humanization of this computer
Mhm.
world that we're living in,
Yeah.
and finding that, because don't they say they're like, it's like the 6 degrees of separation, but, like, there's you if you can find one thing that you have in common, which
Hmm.
odds are good there's something that you
Right.
both like, whether it's a color, a flower, an animal, like, an activity, there's probably something you both can agree, or a type of food, right? If you can
Hmm.
find that one thing, then you're instantly creating that credibility and likeness, because we wanna
Yes.
that's what we want, right? Like, humans just wanna be seen,
Right.
included, felt like they belong, and they're of value to other humans.
Right. And if we can take something in the moment and build on it like we both experienced it.
Yeah.
So if you're at a conference, it might be the food, a speaker or something. If you can build that on, that's creating connection that way. And so one of my and you're gonna uh, we've all done this, myself included, but I'm on a mission to stop, "I hope this finds you well," because that is the start of every boring.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right? And
Hi.
we all do it.
Yeah.
But if we can add and layer in some personality and show like, "Hey, I was there too," or "I was thinking about you," or in some way connect, that starts to change it. So I want people to go on, "I hope this finds you well" diet.
It's funny because I think we're opening up more to that. I think in the past, it was frowned upon, right? Like, you had to speak professionally, and I
Mhm,
never fit in because I'm terrible at speaking
mhm.
professionally all the time. But it's becoming more socially acceptable to not
Yes,
just be this buttoned up professional, but to have a personality, to be
yes,
a human, to be more than just your job. Like, there's this balance that we all have to find of comfortable, relaxed, but at the same time, business and getting things accomplished and being a professional. So where is that fine line? And I think you're onto something here with trying to navigate that
mhm,
so that you can be applicable to all the people that you want to talk to without alienating yourself as too much or too little.
right,
Because I think
right,
we also see that, right? Like, you see some people and you're like, okay, you need to calm down a little bit.
right, right.
Which might be me, but
No, but okay, I'm gonna go back to TED Talks. If
Mhm,
you look
mhm.
at the most viewed, you've got like Brene Brown
Yep.
and what it's they're having a conversation with you. Like they have rehearsed. If you are on the TED stage, you're vetted.
Yeah.
So it's not that you've got something important to share. You've been coached.
Mhm.
But it's the ones that you feel like you're actually connecting and knowing them. And it's not just that's that's sort of the seedy underbelly of people that are very competent is they want to do it perfectly, like the stoic.
Mhm.
And they think if if my work should stand for itself. And then they watch other people get promoted and they're
Right.
like, why am I not? It's because you're not connecting. You need to figure out how to do that. And you can learn it.
Right.
You really can. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and we're all humans. We all have emotions, right? Nobody
Mhm.
expects you to be just like this rigid statue of a person. It's funny, when you were saying that, it made me think of I had this amazing photographer at an event last year, a keynote that I did last year, and like I said, I'm expressive, and I got
Mhm.
some of the most entertaining, unflattering, ridiculous photos because I'm like just all in this story, and I debated for a little bit whether or not I should post those
Mhm.
photos. These really
Mhm.
high quality, but really ridiculous photos, right?
Yeah.
And eventually I was like, "Screw it. This is either going to attract the right people who are like, 'Yeah, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's I like her. She's
Right.
real, like,
Yes.
poised, sure, but she's real.' Or it's going to deter the people that would not like me as their
Mhm.
and I know
Mhm.
some schools of thought would have been like, "Amanda, don't you dare post that stuff." I was
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
"You know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna put it out there. I think they're hilarious. If you don't, then I'm not your person, and that's okay." And I had another speaker who was, like, trying to learn all this. He's like, "Yeah, I saw that you, like, really go for it, and that gave me so much permission to do it, and I'm trying to do that more." And I'm like, "Oh."
Yes.
That
Because
brings
you
me
send
yeah,
out the cues, right? So that's a way
yes.
to kind of vet friendships or I mean, because not everyone's gonna love you.
No, no.
So that's the deal, is send out the
And it's
cues, like,
okay.
"I'm gonna be someone who's more expressive." Cool. "I love dogs." Cool. Like, this is
Love
getting
dogs.
into dating profiles, like, put in the cues that matter to you because you're some people are gonna be like, "Nope, allergies," or so, yeah, put them up front because you're already kind of vetting who you wanna work with, who you wanna serve.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good for
Yeah.
you, and I bet you it was a well-received post.
You'll have to go back
You
and
know?
see them.
Yeah.
They're glorious. They're quite
I
hilarious. Yeah, it did get attention because they were that ridiculous. But so am
yeah,
I, so there you go.
yeah. I wanna see it now.
I
Yeah.
they're quite fabulous. This has been fascinating. I really appreciate you coming on. I know we're coming up on an hour. Any final thoughts on confidence, just in general, on, how you've successfully done it, or advice for somebody else out there who is like, "Man, I wanna be like that, but I'm not, and what do I do?" Last thoughts on that.
Bite-sized pieces, like,
Mm.
literally pick one thing, I'm gonna work on it and do it until it feels natural. So I'm gonna work on using my hands more. Or, we didn't even get into eye contact,
I
but
know.
one tip of this is, like, when you can access thoughts when you're talking to someone, but when you end, you always look at them. That's a
Ooh,
confidence cue. So we love it when people are like, "Yeah, they're really thinking about someone," then I come back and I always finish by landing on you. So start picking cues that matter and keep doing it until it feels natural and then move on, because otherwise it's overwhelming.
mhm.
It's little by little. So this is I'm at least a decade in now, where I've been really working on, okay, how do I stand in front of a group? How do I articulate this? Mhm.
Wow, interesting, interesting. That's great advice. Don't ever try to just dive in because 'cause you're just gonna overwhelm yourself. That's
Right.
life, right? Like, that's good advice on anything you're trying to do in
One
life.
bite at a time, right? Yep.
Trying to do too much, all too fast, all at once.
Yes.
First, thank you for coming on. If the people wanna connect with you, where can they find you? Where do you like to hang out, and what's your, website?
Yes. So Body Language Blueprints is my website. You can start there. You can send me a direct message. That's a great spot. Or LinkedIn. Those are kind of my two spots. I know I need to dip into more social media, but I'm older, I'm more mature, and I'm learning what I need to do. But yeah, I would say LinkedIn is a very easy way to find me or on my website.
And how do we spell your name, my dear?
It's with an I, Kristin, Kristin, and then Bock, like the beer, not the composer, Bock. And the other great way to connect would be sign up for the Calm Charismatic newsletter. It's twice a month, and it's tips on how we can. Because I'm not the bubbly extrovert, I can play that, but at heart, I'm more introverted.
Sure.
So the calm charismatic is me spotting in the wild and sharing things that you can do.
In the
So that's
wild.
great. Then you could try those tips and try incorporating them. So sign up for the Calm Charismatic.
I love that. I love that. I feel like that's what that's what I am, as a calm charismatic. So I should probably pay attention.
You should.
It'll be reaffirming if nothing else.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, Amanda, that's accurate. Good job. I didn't even say this. Kristen's actually my stepdaughter's name. Fun fact. And she spells it the same. Would you look at that?
Oh, well, I like her already.
We were meant to talk.
We were meant to
I
talk.
appreciate you coming on, sharing your insights, sharing your wisdom. If this was valuable for you, the listener, please share it out with somebody that you think would be really interested in learning more. Visit Kristen's website, connect with either of us, LinkedIn, the socials, wherever that may be. Give this a thumbs up and a like. And we hope you come back to listen to Yes You May with Amanda Mae Gray and learn all about your confidence so that you too can live a happy, productive, profitable life. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you. It's been a joy.